You're walking through an old part of town, maybe headed to lunch, maybe just killing time. And there it is, a faded ad on the side of a building. Drink Coca-Cola, gold medal flower. You need a biscuit. Faded, flaking, half gone, still clinging to life, like a whisper from the past. Many people pass these without even noticing, but once you recognize what they are, you start spotting them. Tucked between alleyways, above old storefronts, hiding in plain sight. They're called ghost signs, and in this video, we're digging into their story. Why they were painted, how they were painted, why they've lasted so long, and what they reveal about how we used to sell things and how we remember. Ghost signs aren't just old signs, they're survivors. Painted by hand, sometimes a century ago. They were meant to grab your attention for a week, maybe a season. But through some mix of pigment, patience, and luck, they're still here. They're part marketing, part mural, part mystery. Most of the companies are long gone, but the signs remain. Ghostly outlines of once familiar slogans clinging to brick. Not preserved in museums, just hanging on by habit. The artists behind these signs were called wall dogs, not because they were pampered like your dog, because they were seen as beasts of burden, chained to the wall, working fast, working hard. Some say it started as a derogatory term, a jab at the grit and grime of their job. But over time, it became a badge of honor. They embraced it, because what they did took skill, endurance, and guts. These weren't just random taggers. They were tradesmen, often unionized, and traveled from town to town, painting signs for local businesses and national brands. They used lead-based paints mixed with linseed oil and pigment, paint that gripped brick like glue and held up through decades of rain and sun. Many mixed their own blends, depending on humidity and surface. Before painting, they'd sketch layouts with chalk or charcoal. Sometimes they'd use a pounce pattern, a perforated paper outline you dust with chalk to transfer the design. They worked in crews, a lead artist, one or two assistants, and maybe an apprentice to fill in color or prep the wall. And the best wall dogs could make a small fortune, more than doctors or lawyers in some cities. They had their own slang, their own tools, and their own kind of fame, the kind only a brick wall could hold. By the early 1900s, ghost signs were the advertising network. A national campaign didn't mean radio spots or magazine ads, it meant wall after wall in town after town. Coca-Cola painted more than 16,000 walls during this era, each one similar, but never exactly the same. Hand-lettered, locally executed. Wrigley's Gum promised a 5-cent chew on buildings from Philadelphia to Portland. Mail Pouch Tobacco offered to paint your barn for free, as long as they could brand it in giant letters. Even smaller brands joined in. Soap companies, flour mills, and patent medicines. They advertised everywhere. It was the golden age of outdoor advertising, and if your wall faced traffic or the town square, it had value. Sometimes towns had dozens of signs within a few blocks. They weren't just background, they were the landscape. But the painted wall wasn't built for forever. In the 1950s, a new aesthetic took over. Neon glowed. Plastic signs could be lit from within. Billboards changed weekly and didn't need a 3-story ladder or scaffolding. Advertising moved faster, brighter, flashier, and hand-painted signs on walls slowly slipped into the background. Many were painted over. Some were covered by new facades or tucked behind buildings that went up next door. Others just faded. But few were intentionally destroyed. They weren't worth the trouble or the expense. And the paint, stubborn stuff, often outlived the companies that hired it. And while many of these faded walls were left to time, a small group of painters and preservationists have made it their mission to save them. People like Scott Allred, a sign and mural painter in Asheville, North Carolina, who spent 30+ years mastering both the craft and the restraint it takes to restore ghost signs. We'll come back to him in a minute. And hey, if stories like this are your thing, you're in the right place. We dig into weird leftovers of the world every other week, things most people forget to notice. So hit subscribe and let's keep finding them together. Sometimes, a faded cover-up sign gets the chance to see daylight again. It can happen in a second. A hammer prying loose a sheet of aluminum siding, a gust of wind catching a half-rotted billboard, and underneath, a century-old ad, hiding in the dark like it's been holding its breath. In Schenectady, New York, demolition of the Olander Mattress Building unexpectedly revealed a ghost sign on the adjoining building. Layered into the brickwork were faded words, Nicholas Headquarters for Evans Ales, Schlitz Milwaukee Lager, and the phrase, on land or sea, Unibis, a fragment that likely belonged to an old Unita Biscuit advertisement. And in Chicago's Lakeview neighborhood, demolition crews removed old wooden siding from a two-flat dating back to the 1890s, only to uncover multiple vintage wall ads beneath. One was for Shell Gasoline, another for Ward's Soft Bun Bread, and a third for a local auto repair shop. Word spread fast. Ghost sign fans rushed to the corner of Ravenswood and Addison to snap photos while the preserved colors still gleamed. "I've never seen a ghost sign on wooden siding in Chicago," said local historian Jeffrey Baer. "These paints weren't meant to last, but were hidden long enough to stay vivid." These moments feel like finding treasure in your own backyard, a flash of history that was there all along, just waiting for the right moment to reappear. And that's when the question comes up. Do you repaint it? Do you just seal it? Or do you let it keep fading? That's where people like Scott Allred come in. When a sign reappears, Scott sometimes gets called to figure out how much can be saved and how to keep it from vanishing again. He might spend hours studying the wall up close, looking for tiny flecks of pigment and cracks, or comparing it to period ads to guess what's missing. It's part preservation, part puzzle solving, and part restraint, because the goal isn't to make it brand new. It's to keep that moment in time alive, without erasing the years it's carried. Today, ghost signs have loyal fans and active defenders. Groups like the Fading Ads Project photograph and archive them. In the UK, there's a national ghost sign database. North American towns like Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Spokane, and Winnipeg offer walking tours, proudly showcasing ghost signs as part of the fabric of their history. Some cities choose to repaint them, restoring the original design. Others simply preserve the decay, sealing it in place so it fades on its own terms. Scott Allred, the Asheville-based painter we mentioned earlier, has spent decades refining a process to protect these signs without erasing their history. Keep them from fading away completely. Preserve any original paint still clinging to the wall. Add small amounts of weathered color where needed. Maintain the historical significance. For Scott, the work is about restraint. Sometimes areas of the wall are so far gone, you have to study them close up and look for discoloration in the brick, or tiny remnants of original paint in a crack, Scott says. And when people ask why he doesn't just repaint the whole thing, he offers a metaphor. Dinosaur bones that are barely visible are carefully cleaned and preserved, then protected and reworked for the public to enjoy in a museum. On a much different scale, I feel like preserving these beautiful old hand-painted signs is similar. It preserves and protects a moment in time. There's debate among preservationists. Is repainting respectful or revisionist? Should we make them readable or let them whisper? Even the definition of a ghost sign can vary. According to the Society for Commercial Archaeology, 2 conditions must be met. The sign must be at least 50 years old, and it must promote a product that's no longer sold. That makes some modern era signs more like zombies than ghosts, still hanging around, but not quite dead yet. And not everyone even agrees on the name. Some preservationists and sign painters prefer terms like fading ads, historic wall advertising, or just old painted signs. To them, ghost signs feel too poetic, or too vague, for something so physical and deliberate. But the term stuck. And in a way, that's fitting. These signs may have started as commercial, but now they linger like memories. Half seen, half gone. But either way, people care now. What was once seen as old junk advertising is now considered vintage. Yesterday's clutter, today is character. The signs didn't change, we did. They're not just ads anymore. They're texture, they're memory, they're ghosts, in the best sense of the word. Most ads vanish, these didn't. They weren't meant to last forever, but they have. Because someone took the time to paint them right, because nobody bothered to cover them up, and because we let them stay. Even a gum ad or flower slogan can become a kind of monument if you just leave it alone long enough. So the next time you're walking through town, look up. That faded lettering might be the oldest thing you see all day. And if it is, don't just read it, appreciate it. It's hung on for a reason. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this stroll through history, give us a like and subscribe for more curiosity-driven videos every other week.